It's 11:02. I'm a little bit late hopping on because I was distracted as I'm finishing up the pattern for week 8. Where is it? Okay, I'm going to show you. I am really excited to announce the block for week 8 is the simplest block as far as background goes, and it's also the largest flower that you'll do for this project. So here you go. This is the hydrangea block. This is week 8 of the garden party pattern. So I'm going to pull around this, and show you all the blocks that we've had up until now. But you might notice, good morning, everybody. Great to see you hopping on, and evening, I guess, in some parts of the world. You might see, well, it looks like a mess right now. I haven't completely finished it up, but we have a brand new studio. All week last week, right after the retreat, I came back and bought a whole bunch of furniture from IKEA, and I've been putting together furniture all week long in my studio. I have the blisters on my hands to prove it. But we have all new shelves for fabric. We have we have new shipping and inventory area in my studio, and I can't wait to take you on a tour. So you can see kind of what I've got going on back here, but it's not organized yet. So I will take you on a tour. Hopefully next Monday, we will go on a studio tour and see the latest iteration of my studio. And I'm really excited to share with you some of the tips and thoughts that I've had. We've lived at this studio's in my house. It's above my garage, and it's a really great space, but I'm quickly kind of outgrowing it as my business grows and as I dive deeper into my craft. I need more space to create. And so thinking about creating has made me rethink this space. And I'm really excited to share with you kind of what my tips are and what the new things are in the studio. But for now, as I said, oh shoot, I've got a political call from the United States. Let's just click decline. Okay, so anyway, that's what you see going on back there. Let me pull up what we've done so far so you can see it. My little rickety drafting table. So week 1, week 2, I can't remember. I think this was week 3, 4. I don't know. I'm messing this all up. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we still have 4 more to go. We have a whole other month. So for all of July, you will also be receiving a new pattern. Now, next week, I just remembered we can't do a studio tour because guess what? It's the 4th of July and I will be outside celebrating. There's a parade that goes right by my house. And so I won't be doing a live video next week, but you will still get your pattern. You might get it a little earlier than usual, maybe on Sunday night, just so that I can enjoy the holiday. Anyway, and then we'll postpone the studio tour for the week after that, whatever week that is, July 11th or something like that. So anyway, I want to show you a little bit, kind of the fun things that I did with this block. You can see that compared to everything else, the background of this block is pretty plain. Let me explain that. As I have been going along, I'm applying some of the principles that Amelia teaches. And one of the things is that our eye sometimes needs a rest. And so it's kind of nice to have a block that's just a block. Very easy to see that versus, everything else is really busy and crazy. I think this is going to be a really nice addition to this project to, provide that sort of cool it down a little bit, and then you can let your eye keep moving around the design. The other thing is that this one is larger, so it takes up so much of the space on the block, so there's really no need. Furthermore, it's a really high contrast block, right? So we've got the blue background contrasted against the bright white hydrangea, and the green is a really good analogous color that complements this block. So the way I have quilted this, so wait, before I get to quilting, I want to show you some fun things about this. So you know how hydrangeas, the center of the flower is like a little green dot, and it kind of has some green in it. So I took my Inktense pencils. I used Inktense with this, used my green and blue Inktense, and just kind of drew the center of some flowers with my Inktense, and then applied water. I like water because I like the spread that it provides. So I think that just softens the spread and softens the center of these flowers. And then the other thing that you can see is that I've done some darling little French knots with embroidery thread. So on a few of these, I've used embroidery thread. You can see it on this, and there's on the ladybug. And again, on this, we've got some French knots that kind of very, very subtle, but I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Now to the quilting. Remember, with the quilting on these blocks, we're doing the blocks in a quilt as you go method, and the method requires that we leave some of the fabric unquilted so that we can apply it to so that we can piece it to the next block. So really what I did with this is I just quilted it, and you can see the quilting on that. Just kind of made it look like flower petals. I did change the thread. I went from kind of this darker green around the edges to a, really white thread there. And then on the leaves, and you can see I actually ran out of thread. My bobbin thread ran out, so I didn't get that finished. But obviously, by the time I pull this all together, it will all be quilted. But you can see how this turned out with the leaves. I want you to look at the variety of green that's used in the leaves. So we've talked about this before. The more fabric that you use, the more interesting your collage is going to be. And that is what I love about collage. I love the fact that I can pull in so many different fabrics, and the way they interact with each other is just, it's kind of like magic. So lots of different fabrics are in these leaves, and then I really emphasize the veining of the leaf by my stitch pattern in the quilting. So, and then the background, I'm really proud to show you the background, but mostly because you can hardly see it because it's just beautiful and tidy. You can see those French knots on the back just a little bit. But I'm getting better and better in my quilting. As I'm using my Bernina, I'm doing free motion quilting on on all of these blocks. So after I had quilted the hydrangea and the leaves, I'm just going to leave it from this point because everything is tacked down, and it gives me that nice edge that I can now fold over and stitch to my next block. And then after I get those blocks joined, then I can go back in and finish the quilting. So that's block 8. Now, if you have not purchased this project and you've seen these blocks coming up, and you've said, oh, I haven't got it. I kind of wanted to see what was happening. It's not too late, because you can still go to collagequilter.com. This is all a download right now. So each week, once you purchase it, you'll receive all the patterns that we've released up until this point. And then we release a new block pattern every Monday through the end of July. So we still have another month of exciting reveals to come. And let's see, what else did I want to say? So you can still get those. So you can still get the pattern at collagequilter.com. It's the garden party pattern. It's a digital download, so you need to be aware of where your downloads go on your computer. So when you download it, make sure you know where your downloads go, because a lot of computers don't indicate that you've got a download in your download file. And then let's see, what else did I want to share with you about this week. There was something else. This digital down. Oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you, if you are not into downloads, and I understand some of you aren't, no problem. You can wait until August when we have the full paper pattern booklet available for purchase. So if you just want to wait, you can wait and get the whole thing as a physical pattern, and you can download that, or you can purchase that on my website. So again, this week I used Inktense pencils just to kind of play with that and create some shadows under some of these leaves. You can see some of it right there. I love doing that. I'm going to look at your questions now, and then we will I will answer your questions. So if you have any questions, this is always a great time to meet with me. Okay, let's see. First of all, as I'm going down, I do like to just kind of say hello to everybody from all over the place. So we've got Kansas and Kentucky and Florida, Oregon. I am heading on a vacation soon with my kids to Oregon. North Wales, Joe, thank you for joining us. And Gail from Texas. Let's see here. From the UK, great to have you. And the Netherlands, thank you for joining us. And Boise, New Jersey, Florida. Okay, let's see. I'm just looking for any questions. Spain and Pennsylvania. Okay. Oh, somebody said this is drop dead beautiful. Thank you. And somebody pointed out that's why your fabric bundles are so perfect. Can't wait for this one. That's right. So this is a perfect fabric bundle using the green and the white. Those two combined make for a beautiful hydrangea. And since I'm showing you that, I just want to show you kind of how to create the shading in the hydrangea. So I want you to think of a hydrangea like a big ball flower, right? And the ball is going to have a little bit of a highlight area, and then as we go towards the bottom, we're going to have some darker pieces. So the colors that I've actually pulled in here are kind of light green. You see some light green there. This is from I think that's from my white or my gray bundle. And then some really dusty green. That's from one of my green bundles. And then some gray. We've got quite a bit of the bundle from the white and the gray in here. So little pieces, little snippets of gray and white. And you can see as you look at it up close, all the variety of fabrics, even in the white. So even in something that you think is white. And then we've got a little bit of kind of greenish teal in here. So as you're thinking about shading a white hydrangea, they have a lot of green tint, right, in the inside of the flowers and whatnot. So keep that in mind as you're kind of looking for fabric. Look for cooler greens and blues and some teals, and of course some gray to kind of pull in and make this hydrangea look round. Okay, let's see. Any questions? So someone just asked a question. What time will this be emailed out? Generally what I do is I work on the blocks. I'm, working on everything all week. And I start writing the pattern for each block on Friday. A lot of times I don't get the pattern finished. So I sit down before this video and I'm doing the finishing touches on the video. So most Mondays you will not receive this email until Monday afternoon after this live video. So I know a lot of people are super anxious and you think it's coming out in the morning, but I took the weekend off. So that's kind of why I use Monday mornings to get everything all polished up and ready to send out. So you can look for it. It's 11:17 my time in the morning, Mountain Time, depending on where you are. Just keep in mind that it's after this video. Okay, let's see if there are some other So I think I answered Deborah's question about what colors did I use for the hydrangea. Pea greens and blues as well as whites. So I hope that you can kind of see that now. All right, let's see if we have some other questions. Okay, so somebody just asked, do you suggest light steam to light? Yes. So in the pattern that you receive every week, it gives complete instructions and supplies. And because this is my method called the parchment pressing method, you must use light Steam-A-Seam 2. That's the product that you need to use with parchment paper. Now, whether you can do that with another type of adhesive, it's possible. But my pattern is written and my method is designed to use parchment paper with light Steam-A-Seam 2. Okay. All of these supplies you can also find on my website. So we just got a huge order of light Steam-A-Seam 2 that we can provide to you. In fact, it comes in a small roll. I think it's 3 yards. So that's a really, really great product to purchase. We sell Inktense pencils in 2 sizes. We sell the 24 and we sell the 12. And we sell fabric bundles and of course the pattern and whatnot. So we're here. Collage Quilter is designed to be your one-stop shop for all your needs to do collage. Okie dokie. Let's see. Okay, so somebody just said in New Jersey it's around 4:15 p.m. and for those people that are in Australia, it's the middle of the night. So I'm sorry about that. It is what it is. Okay, so again, it is not too late to join the quilt along. And when you join it, you will receive all of the blocks up until this point. Now, here's the thing, because I haven't released this block yet, I haven't sent it out to all the people who are participating in the quilt along. If you purchase it, let's say right now, you'll get all the way up through block 6, and then block 7 will be released right after this, and you'll get 2 emails for it. Let's see here. So somebody just asked, what will be the cost of the printed pattern, and will it be a paper or foundation, a fabric foundation? So I'm not sure of the cost. That's going to depend on the printing, right? So it will be in a little booklet, I think. I want to make this a really, really beautiful, lovely project that comes in a booklet. So it'll be a little bit different than the other patterns that I've done because this is a pretty big pattern. It will be a parchment pressing pattern. It will not be a foundation pattern. So that's that. Oh, this is a great question. So somebody said, I was wondering if there was anything that the folks that came to my retreat, so my retreat ended about 10 days ago, my very first retreat up in Midway, Utah, if there was anything that they didn't bring that they wish they could have, that they wish they had. And honestly, I would like to know that myself. I didn't hear of anything. Most of them were pretty well prepared, and we will send out a supply list so that you have access to that and you know exactly what to bring. And then we also will have everything for sale at the retreat. The one thing that you don't need to bring that we will provide is this kind of work surface. We did 24 of these that we can provide so that you don't have to pack that in your luggage. Okay, so let me keep going down and see if there are other. Oh, so Terry just said she remembers seeing this on Instagram, and yes, it would be gorgeous in a color as well. So that's entirely up to you. I thought white would be fun because we don't have a white flower up here in the collage yet. So I wanted to pull in white. We've got some white background fabric, you know, but we don't have the white hydrangea. And look how good that looks with these blocks. I'm really, really happy with that. So that's the reason that I chose white. I'll just pin this right here so you guys can see it. Okay, there you go. All right, let's see what other messages you might have. So somebody just said she uses Steam 2 regular, and it's awesome, and that works for her. So that's great. If that works for you, that's great. Let's see. Oh, Suzanne just said she's visualizing a table runner with blue, white, and pink hydrangeas. That would be lovely. Okay, so I knew I would get this question about how Inktense pencils work. So I'm just going to quickly show you. I'm not going to demonstrate right now. I'll do a demonstration another time, but I do want to show you how they work. So Inktense pencils are a little bit like watercolor pencils, if you've ever used watercolor pencils. So here, they just look like colored pencils. And all you're going to do is draw on, so let's say I'm taking, this is ink black. I don't use this color very often, but it's nice and sharp. And that's why it's sharp, because I don't use it very often. But if I'm wanting to shade something, I can just draw right on my fabric. See that? So I can do a crosshatch. I can add different colors to it. So if I wanted to add some teal or something, for instance. So it's just very much like coloring on fabric with colored pencils. Well, it's exactly like that. So see that? See that little shadow or smudge that I did? It's pretty muted right now, but I want you to watch and see what happens when I add some water. So I've got a brush here. So I just like to use this little round brush that gives me a lot of control. But can you see how dramatic that the color really intensifies? And what this becomes is it's ink. So as I wet this, it becomes permanent ink, and that saturates the fibers of the fabric. And then as it dries, it's going to lighten up again. It won't stay this dark. It will lighten up, and it will become a permanent washable ink that you can use on your fabric. So it's really, really fun to play with. And I recommend getting some of these Inktense pencils just so that you have, it's just another tool in your toolbox to play with. It's just another toy. So go buy it right now. So go buy so you can play with your Inktense pencils. Another little trick that I've learned too is if that feels too intense, like you need to practice on a little scrap of fabric before you actually work on a block. But if it gets too intense, guess what? You can lift up some of the pigment by just pressing a paper towel down on it. So that's Inktense, right? Pretty fun. Okay, hope that answers your question. Let's see here. So Becky just asked a really good question. She said, what's the difference between regular sass and light sass? In my experience, light sass is exactly that. It's just a little bit of a lighter product, and it is less stiff than regular Steam-A-Seam. Regular Steam-A-Seam tends to be stiffer and a little bit heavier. It's a more bulky adhesive, and so the two products work identically. They work exactly the same. You have to steam them to death and activate the permanent fusion. But I find with something that is fused with the regular Steam-A-Seam, it's just a little bit heavier and stiffer than, or excuse me, something that that I've used regular Steam-A-Seam is stiffer and heavier than the light Steam-A-Seam. And why they have light Steam-A-Seam 2 versus Steam-A-Seam 2, I don't know. I can't tell you. It just makes me a little bit crazy. But that's the product that I look for. I'm trying to see if I've got a package for you so that you can see the roll. But it says specifically, and I only sell that product, light Steam-A-Seam 2, on my website, Collage Quilter. So we can ship you out either packages if you don't think you're going to use very much, or you're just trying this out, or you can, if you know you love collage and you love this technique, get yourself that roll that we just restocked. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, did I say this was 7? So yes, this is block, the hydrangea is block 8. Queen Bee was block 7. I might have misspoke. Sometimes I get really excited to be with you guys, and then and it's live, and so sometimes I say things that are wrong. Oh, somebody just said she loves the size of these blocks. It's great for busy people to find time to do. I'm so glad to hear that. That was the intention. And also, do not feel like you need to get all of these done at, when I do, but they are kind of bite-sized so that you can accomplish it. But even if you don't want to do all of them, do a few of them, do a pillow, do a table runner, do placemats. It's a great way to just play and relax and have fun during the summertime. Okay, so let's see. Okay, Kay just asked a really good question. She said, if we order the 24 Inktense and we don't use them a lot, will they stay good for a long time? So absolutely, because they come like colored pencils. They are not wet when you buy them. They are colored pencils. And I've had this package of Inktense pencils for several years now. So they will last a long time. They have a good long shelf life. Okay, so that answers Kay's question. Oh, somebody just said, is there one block left? No, there are 4 blocks left. I have mine all done, and I can't wait to show you. They're so dang cute. Remember, we've had some requests for some certain types of little creatures that you would find in a garden that have to be part of our garden party. Okay. So Amy just said, I'm a bit concerned about how color fast the pencils are after washing. Do you have any examples? So yes, I do have an example on my Wee Green Beasties quilt. I used the Inktense pencils on my Wee Green Beasties quilt, and I washed that quilt. And I don't have the quilt right now, but we'll double check on that. I do think that the Inktense faded slightly, but you can still definitely see it. So that's just something to keep in mind. As you're doing this, keep in mind, don't be afraid of the intensity of the color because it fades as it dries. And then if you intend to wash something, it will probably further fade. It's ink, but it's supposed to be color fast, and that's what it says. Let's see if we can see anything else on the back. Once they dry, Inktense can become permanent and worked over again and again. So that's what they say. And it says it's a non-soluble pencil. Yeah, so there you go. That's the product. I will experiment a little bit more with it, and I'll let you know what else I find out. And so I do have that quilt, but that Wee Green Beasties quilt is up with my father-in-law. So I will get that soon. Oh, I need to get that back because I've got a show coming up in July. Okay. So let's see what else. Okay. This is a good question. How much fabric does the average person have pre-fused before starting a block? Well, I consider myself an average person. I don't know, maybe I'm not average. Maybe I'm kind of on the crazy end of the spectrum because I just think the more the better. Get as much as you possibly can. Go buy more fabric. All of these blocks, again, that's the beauty of collage, and the fun of collage is having more than you need. That's your palette. You want to make sure that you have all the palette laid out that you might need. And you don't need a huge, you don't need large pieces of fabric. You just need small pieces of fabric. And that's why my fabric bundles are sold in 1/8 of a yard increments, so that you can cut off just a small amount and use that over, you can use that fabric over and over. The great thing too with my fabric bundles is we're always replenishing our stock. So every bundle you get is a little bit different. So if you bought green 3 months ago, it's going to be an entirely different green bundle today. And so that's a good way to get a good amount of fabric in your stash for collage or for any other type of quilt that you want to make. Remember, an 1/8 of a yard is a 4.5 inch strip. So if you didn't want to do collage and you just wanted to make something fun with all those strips of fabric, be my guest. It will be delightful. In fact, that's my intention. Sometime soon when I get a breather, I'm going to make just a regular old plain old quilt because I love quilts. Okay, let's see if there are other questions. Okay, so Glenda asked a great question. She said, Emily, are the outside chrysanthemum petals detailed with quilting or Inktense pencils? Okay, let me show you. So the Inktense was only used in a few areas right on the hydrangea flower. The shading that you see on the flower, or excuse me, on the leaves is entirely fabric. So I just chose, and you'll see on the pattern that it guides you to select fabric that's a little bit darker because we want to create kind of a shadow. And so it's just done by fabric choice. And you can see that throwing in a really lighter piece of fabric right there, and look at that leaf. Isn't that just interesting? It's full of all kinds of different fabrics, and it's kind of crazy and wild until you back up, and then it becomes very artistic. And so this is a really good example of my mantra: let the fabric do the work. Spend the majority of your time selecting fabric. I promise you, if you select a great palette of fabric and then go into, making the collage, then it's like, paint by number. It's easy peasy, but you've got to make sure you've got a really good palette of fabric. Somebody said, how many sweets should we eat per block? Great question. Great question. You must have your little candy dish. I've already had one for the day, and I've got a few more, and then I've got my mints over there too. So always make sure you have your candy dish sitting next to you so that you can have fun doing your collage. Great question. Okay. Let's see. Somebody just asked, Emily, will the booklet coming out in August be more expensive than the download? Yes. The booklet, I anticipate, as I said, I'm going to have some printing costs with that little booklet. And so it will probably be more expensive than the download. The download is $39, and that gives you 12 blocks. It's huge. So there you go. Oh, Krista just said, ironing also sets Inktense. So great little tip, Krista, when you're using your Inktense. And I think I'm darn sure I did it with this too. Steaming and iron pressing is also going to set your blocks, set the Inktense. Okay, so someone just said, I'm hoping for a grasshopper or frog. Okay, if you're hoping for a grasshopper and frog, you need to go see my Wee Green Beasties quilt because they are darling. I have exactly a grasshopper or cricket creature and a frog in Wee Green Beasties, but you won't see it in the garden party. So just a little heads up. Another tip that somebody said, if you use a fabric painting medium, it will not fade. So I use water. Maybe I should try a fabric medium because I know there is fabric medium, and some people also use clear aloe vera. That helps to control the bleed a little bit. So I just invite you to get them and experiment. They're so fun to play with. Let's see. Okay, good. I've got some friends out there. There's another person that's on the crazy end and has lots of scraps too. Okay. Here's a great question, and I think I'll answer these last two questions. Do you have the background fabric for sale? If not, what is the maker and the name? So I do not have the background pieces for sale except in my bundles. So this, in fact, I think almost all of these background fabrics can be found in my fabric bundles because I love those fabrics. And I apologize that I haven't cut them large enough. I didn't plan ahead enough to have the background fabrics available, But going forward, that is my goal. That is my number one goal with my business, is to make sure that with every quilt that I make available every stitch of fabric that I use. So that's part of the reason that we've redesigned the studio. So in a couple of weeks, I'll show you what we're doing. And we have lots and lots and lots of fabric. And that's the plan, to increase our fabric so that I can have fabric to make with, and then I can have fabric to sell kits for. So let's see the next and last question, because I got to run. So someone just asked, I know it depends on the layout, but the finished quilt will be, I will have to calculate it. It is, so the finished blocks, and you might be right, but I'm going to tell you how to calculate this. So every block is 14 inches unfinished. And then when I do seam allowance, that they become 13.5 inches. That's in the quilt. And they are 3 blocks across. The finished quilt will be 3 blocks across and 4 blocks down. So you do the math. I'll do it for you later. I just, don't put me on the spot. Don't put me on the spot like that. Okay, so there we have it. Block 8 in the Garden Party quilt is now available. I will be finishing up the pattern and sending it out to everybody that has purchased the pattern, and no, it's not too late. And you can find it at collagequilter.com, along with some of these products that I've mentioned, the Seam and the Inktense pencils and fabric bundles and whatnot. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for posting in the Collage Quilter Academy Facebook group. That's the Facebook group that's kind of just specifically for my patterns, and we are focusing heavily on the Garden Party pattern. You'll find a design tip of the week from Amelia, who is my daughter and my full-time assistant. And we do lots of fun stuff, and it's really, really helpful to be able to see everybody else's hydrangea or Gerber daisy or bee. So that's really fun, and it's a wonderful group of supportive people and super kind, and it really makes my day to be a part of that group. So if you're not there, I hope you will get there. All right, all, I love you. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in 2 weeks, because next week is the holiday. So happy summer, everybody.